Sorry. I was trying to get all that out before. Okay,
like the cool thing is a lot of the people haven't had the chance to hear the intro, so once everybody hears it's like, bro, like
man, that's great. Jeez.
Oh man. Hey, we are honored. Hey everybody. So tremendously blessed and so elated, excited, and enthusiastic about today's podcast. It's going to be amazing. Welcome to Behind the Music with Q, my co-host Antoine Chambers.
Yep.
And our special guest today, Erskine Hawkins, the third.
How you guys doing? Thank you. Thank you.
Today. So I'm going to be introducing him and want him to introduce himself to you guys. So glad that you are joining today. We've been having such an awesome time. Behind the Music with Q is an opportunity to talk about the stories behind the music, to talk about the stories, talk about family. It has to do with encouragement. It's the things that you possibly don't see on the stage that goes all behind and just in people's lives. I've been so blessed to meet great people, great musicians, preachers, just great people of great value who are touching and impacting the world in a big way. So honored that you would come today and be with us. We're going to have a good time, you guys. Share this. Let somebody know that we're on. I'm going to get right in. I'm going to pray. I'm going to give my thought of the day, and then we're going to go ahead and jump right in with my brother Erskine Hawkins the third today. Am I saying that right, Erskine?
Yeah, that's it. Erskine Hawkins, yeah.
Okay. So, Father, we thank you. We give you praise for this wonderful day that you allowed us to see. For this is the day that you have made, and we shall continue to be rejoicing and rejoice forevermore. For you're doing something awesome in our life. You're doing something great in our life. Thank you for this podcast. Thank you for this time. Thank you for those who will listen, those who will hear this. Let this go, oh God, and reach to the places that you want it to reach. Let someone's life be changed. Oh God, we thank you for your presence that makes everything easy. So this is for your honor, for your glory. I thank you, Lord God, and I give you praise today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
Amen.
All right. I'm going to give my thought of the day. And once again, it's always this battle that I have with so many different things that I'm thinking about. And so I got like maybe 3 or 4 things that I'm thinking about as I'm trying to continue to build my mind and grow and continue to become. So one thing that comes to mind that I'll share really briefly is not as probably, I'm just going to say it and we'll see how long it's going to be. I was going to try to give it a time limit, but I'm going to mess up if I do that. So I'm going to just leave it alone. Okay. So you reap what you sow. It's simple. Very, very, very simple. I'm thinking about so many times that people want to reap a harvest from what they have not sown. And so I think it's so important to know that what you're going to reap from what you sow to. It could be your life. It could be personal areas. It could be your mind. It could be your body. It could be your business. It could be relationships. It could be your marriage. Whatever it is, your dreams, whatever you sow to is what you're going to reap from. Some people say, well, musically, well, how do you do what you do? Or how do you get? Or people like Erskine or great other guys that we know and women who play, sing, whatever it is. How do you get to that level? We sowed a lot of tears, a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of discipline to it. And so we're reaping. So as you continue to sow to it, you're going to reap from it. Last thing I'll say in closing with that is so important to be careful that you're careful of what you sow. You just can't sow anything. You have to be very particular. I've been hearing a word that's just been going around. It's such a, be intentional. You have to be intentional about what you're sowing today. Be careful that you're not sowing things that you're going to reap what you didn't expect or what you wasn't looking for, or something that's even possibly detrimental to your life. So sow good seeds, and I promise you, you're going to reap great harvest. So I'm praying for you. Continue to sow great seeds. So I'm so excited that you're here with us today. Like I said, my guest, Erskine Hawkins. Man, how are you doing, my brother? Please introduce yourself to the people. We're honored to have you today. I'm so glad that you took time out of your busy schedule to be with us today, man.
Busy, man. Y'all are probably more busy than I am, man. I'm sitting around at the house. I'm doing the dad thing right now. But man, I'm honored to be here, and I'm doing well. We're just just making it through this thing. I'm counting down the months, man. To be honest, I'm counting down the months till October. October 1st is going to be Christmas in the Hawkins house. I'm putting up the trees. I mean, we might not light them until November 1st, but I'm putting them up October 1st, man. So I'm just counting down. So 2 more months and then it's Christmas. Once it's Christmas, I don't care. I don't like to leave the house anyways at Christmas time. So I'm good. I can sit in the house and bake cookies until next year. And that's what I'm planning on doing. So I'm just trying to make it to October.
Wow. It's incredible, man. Well, I tell you, man, there's so much, man, things that we want to tap into in this time that we have together. Once again, you are more than welcome for those who are joining. Bless you, Bishop Bellinger, to post your comments, share this video. We have some great content that's coming your way today. I promise you there's going to be something that's going to be said that's going to add value to your life. And I meant to say this, but I forgot. But we want to add value to your life. My mission statement as life is to challenge, change, and charge one life at a time. And so I forgot to say that in the beginning, but that's what we look to do. And I promise you that you're going to get something today that can really bless you. Greg O'Quinn, how you doing, man? Great to have you with us. So, man, Erskine, man, please, man, share with us, man, your journey. People may not know, but they need to know what a musician, not just a musician, what a soul, what a spirit you are. Man, you are a very unique individual, and God has blessed you tremendously.
Man, he really has.
The stages, the platforms that you've been on, the connections, the relationships, that just doesn't come overnight. Man, give us a little bit of your journey, man. How did it all get started for you?
Well, man, so first, what a lot of people don't know is I'm from Mountain Home, Idaho. So I'm not from Dallas, not Dallas born and raised. And my parents were in the military, so I'm a military brat. And I actually grew up in Wichita Falls, Texas, small little town, about 2.5 hours, 2 hours from like kind of north of Dallas-ish, northwest, something like that. But anyway, so that's where my musical journey started, if you will. I started on drums first in the church, didn't know anything about jazz, nothing like that. And I just started like trying to pick out stuff by ear on piano. One of the minister of music at our church when I was 13, he was retiring from the military. He was in the military as well. And we weren't going to have a pianist at the church. And I was like, man, I mean, I was playing drums. I wasn't even like the main drummer. I was like you know how it is when, you a kid and like, oh, if the main drummer don't show up, I got my sticks in the car. Now I got my sticks. I mean, I just have my one pair of sticks in my hands. I'm just ready to go. But I mean, that dude, he did never miss a Sunday. So, I mean, I never got to play. So that's how I started playing keys when the minister of music was going to be leaving. I was like, oh, can you teach me how to play a song? And my dad also plays as well, but my dad never played professionally. He plays a little bit here and there. So I would ask my dad to show me stuff as well. But the minister of music, he taught me one song, man, Ancient of Days. I don't know if most people don't even remember that. So yeah, I mean, and I played 2 notes here. Dun, 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 dun.
Come on.
I had that's my one song, brother. That was it. That's all I knew. So that's kind of how I started in music. I mean, I really just sat and I picked it out. And one day I just looked at the piano. I was like, man, anything I want to play is within these 88 notes. I'm not sure how I find it. I'm not sure, but anything I can hear, it's here somewhere. Like, it's not out in la la land. It's not make believe. It's actually on the keyboard somewhere. I just got to figure out where to put my hands to get to it. So that's really where my musical journey started, was figuring out that everything is actually right there in front of me already. I just got to figure out how to maneuver around it. And that was it. So I mean, I used to lock myself in the room for hours and hours and just try to like learn scales and whatever. I never took music lessons growing up. Not really. I think my mom put us some voice lessons when I was younger. That didn't pay off very well. So that was a waste of her money. But in high school, we didn't have an arts high school in the town that I grew up in, but we did have a high school that had a piano class. So my freshman year of high school, I transferred to that high school so I could take the piano class. Because by this time, I was like 14, 15, something like that. I wasn't terrible. So let's just put it that way. I wasn't good, but I wasn't bad. And I wanted to be in the jazz band. And I think my growth really kind of started around my junior year of high school, because I was like, man, this is what I want to do. I went to a Kirk Franklin concert. We came up to Dallas. This is back when they used to have the gospel concerts at Six Flags. Oh, hey, man. Every summer we went to it was a Kirk Franklin concert, man. I'll never forget it. I was like, I sat there. my jaw was on the floor the whole night. I was like, I want to do this. I want to do it. So after the concert was over, Sean Martin was like, he was just kind of still on the stage and everybody was walking out. So I ran up the stage. I said, sir, I mean, I had never met him before. I was just so humbled to meet Sean Martin, man. He shook my hand, man. He stood there and talked to me for like 3 minutes. And I was just so excited and honored that he took the time to actually even speak to me. But that was my motivation to like, I gotta get better. I want to learn everything I can learn. So anyways, I talked to the back at school, I talked to the band director about what I could do. I want to do more music. I auditioned for the jazz band. I was in jazz band. I was in the piano class. I was in choir. I was in a whole bunch of classes. I mean, I had to take my math and science or whatever, but they were very generous with the class. And he said, well, why don't I just add you to marching band or concert band? I think this was in like the spring or whatever. I'm going to add you to concert band, but you don't have to be in the concert band. We have practice rooms on the other side of the band hall. Which was a completely different section. You go in the practice room. Concert band was an hour and a half every day. You go in there and you play whatever you want for an hour and a half every day. That was how my day started. That's where my growth really started. I could play whatever I wanted. So I had piano class for an hour and a half. We had an 8 day. So piano class for an hour and a half, jazz band for an hour and a half every other day. And then I had every day was 90 minutes of sitting there and play whatever you want to play. This was during school. And then I would get home and play more. So that's where the growth started. And then my main motivation really came in to like really take this thing seriously. I was thinking about going to Berklee College of Music. I just knew that's where I wanted to go. I auditioned for this. I forgot what the scholarship name was. I had a low scholarship too. I was going. I started auditioning for them my sophomore year of high school. I auditioned my junior year of high school, trying to get more money so I could go because that place is expensive. And then my senior year, before we got there, I went to All Region Jazz Band. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. Yeah. All Region. Yeah, I went to All Region Jazz Band. I mean, by this time, I was like, I know I'm killing. And I wasn't, but I was like, I'm going here. I'm going to show these people what's up. Man, I got in there and I auditioned for All Region Jazz Band, and I got 5th place, which I was like, that's not terrible. It's not bad in the state, or I guess it's the region, I guess, whatever. But then I looked, there was only 5 people that auditioned. So I was like, I got last place as a senior. I mean, so freshmen beat me out. And that was really like the kick. That was the kick that I needed, man, to like get it together. While I was there, though, a gentleman, one of the other teachers, was asking me like what my plans were for the future. He said, man, you sound incredible. What are your plans for the future? And so I'm going to Berklee College of Music. And he said, why wouldn't you think about going to North Texas? It's right up the street, and they have a really great jazz program. He said, now, I'm not going to lie to you. To go to North Texas, you have to be able to play classical music, too. And for me, I was like, nah, I've never played classical. No, thank you. I'm not going to go. I don't play classical music. That's not something I'm trying to do in life. But anyway, fast forward to I graduated. So we eventually moved in the middle of my senior year. My dad retired from the military. We relocated to Dallas. So I didn't get here until I was just about to graduate high school. I graduated early, actually, by a semester. So by the time we get here, I'm now out of high school. This is like the summer before I was supposed to go up to Berklee. I was going, admitted, got my dorm, the whole 9. And my mom was just like, I don't want you to go that far from home. It's too far. Please, let me drive you up to North Texas just so you can see the campus. Let's go take a look and let's see. And I was like, all right, let's go. So we got in the car. We drove up there. It was during the summer. This was like the last week in July or something like that. And classes, school starts middle of August. So we get there and we're walking around the College of Music, and the professor, the jazz piano professor, is in his office. And my mom knocks on the door. I mean, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was doing, Andrew, what up, man? I think he was doing something else. This is Stefan Carlson. And she's like, can my son audition for you? I had missed auditions and everything. And he's like, well, yeah, absolutely. Sit down and play. And I did, and it was bad because I'm at this point, I don't really know jazz like that. Like I can play gospel music, but I can't play anything else aside from that. So I played what I could to sound as jazzy as possible. And he was like, you know what? I see something here. I'm going to go ahead and admit you to the College of Music. You just need to be accepted to the university, which was no problem. I had great grades. So that's what happened. So I had to do it on a probationary period because I had missed the music auditions, but he admitted me. So I still had to be on like a probationary period or whatever. But yeah, for that time, that's So that's how I wound up in North Texas. And so that was my start in music.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing, man. I think as I'm thinking now, I'm looking at the necessity. The necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yeah.
And so if you think about invention, man, but it's also necessity that almost is like this. There's something that's necessary. It's almost like there's a moment in time that has been set aside for all of us to be introduced to our purpose.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm thinking it's funny how, Sean, you're in the right place at the right time at a Kirk Franklin's concert. And not knowing that the concert is going to be over, the whole band could have left.
They really could have, yo.
Sean is there, but you're at the right place at the right time looking. It's funny how things can just fly past you. And it's like you turn your head, you can miss it.
Yeah.
But man, you were so locked in, that opportunity in that moment, man. I'm even thinking about the things that you were saying about the guy who played the drums at the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like this guy never misses. But if he does miss,
I'm ready.
I'm going to be ready. And
I mean, he showed up late a couple of times, so I would start the service, and then he kind of, do the slide me over kind of thing and come in and finish the song. But I mean, that happened a few times, but he never missed though.
But that's the power of preparation, though.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a quote that says it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Right.
So it's like, like nobody's sliding you over now.
Well, I mean, Q he can any day, but he could though.
I'm tripping out, man. I'm just thinking about so many different things, man. It's funny how it's like, how do I want to say it? As I'm listening to your story and I'm looking at, the opportunities that God afforded you, or preparation, or things He was just stirring inside of you to come to that place, it was like, it's almost like we don't understand the power of connectivity. Mm-hmm. We don't understand that all pieces are connected in some way. And sometimes, if not directly, sometimes indirectly, through people in different places. And so it's amazing to see. I think as I'm thinking, man, so many thoughts are just running through my head, man, from what you said. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is how literally God, man, was setting you up in your preparation stages for what you would be doing now.
Yeah. He
was setting you up, man, in such a great way, because, man, I think the first time that I kind of ran into you, let's see, it was something. Oh man, that's crazy. It was the Tamela Mann tour. You were supposed to be out there, and something happened, and that's how I got the call.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fill your shoes.
Oh, okay.
And these guys, no. Listen, people don't understand. People can mistake fluidity, dexterity, technical prowess.
Virtuosity, I would call it.
They'll mistake that for knowing what to do in every single moment,
right,
or being prepared for every stage. That's not necessarily true. It takes time, man. And so the shoes that you left, y'all was practicing for a good minute. I had 2 days to prepare for that tour.
Man.
And man, when I was listening to how you directed the band, I was listening to your preparation and how, everything, man, the cues, the points, man, it's like it was so proficient. You had done such a great job of making it easy for everybody on that bandstand, and even creating the easiness for the people who would come to fill in as well, that there would be such a, it would be so established that, to get lost, it would just be on you.
Man,
but you had created that, and that's really amazing, because the truth is everybody doesn't operate that way, man. Everybody doesn't operate in that level of excellence or thinking ahead, not just for. That's crazy, man.
I think the goal is, if you're going to miss, and this is something I learned in college, if you are going to miss something, if you're going to miss a show or a rehearsal, always send a sub that is going to play better than you will. B, send somebody that's going to make sure they know the music. And C, we shouldn't notice that you're gone. We should never notice that you're gone. Some people are, I mean, they're so insecure about what they bring to the table that they always call guys that aren't going to do such a great job. So that way their gig is secure. That's actually the fastest way to lose your gig. Just you know, if we're being honest, that's the fastest way to lose it, because if the show doesn't go well when you're not there, then like now you have to be there all the time. For me, I prefer for it to always, like I would definitely prefer to always send somebody that is going to kill it. So the next time I'm like, oh, I'm going to be out, they don't have a problem with whoever I'm bringing in. And then also the artist trusts you now where you say, all right, so Q's not available, but I'm going to send this guy. No, it's got to be Q, because the last person was like, it's every person that you send in, they've all got to have those qualities. They're better than you. They know their music, and they're, you know, and they're absolutely, they're just killing. So anyway, that's the other thing. And then there's some other stuff that I do sometimes, but on Tamela Mann's stuff, though, I'm technically not the music director. Pat is Patrick Wright. He's a phenomenal leader, man. I was talking to my wife about him the other day, and how he leads. His leading style is like, I'm gonna get the guys who know like what this should be, and I'm gonna let them do it. But Pat is a facilitator. I mean, you can't find a better facilitator. When it comes to putting something together, you call Patrick Wright, and he gets it done. So I think that's pretty neat that he lets me. I mean, when I'm there, he gives me the talk back mic. Erskine, what do you think about this? I mean, he lets me do that. But at the end of the day,
that's why I thought that you were because
right, exactly. But Pat, and that's because Pat allows me to do it, because that's just something I'm gifted to do. But you know, at the end of the day, I mean, once we leave rehearsal, I call Pat. I say, Pat, what'd you think? How'd it go? Pat, what do you think about this? And he'll say, well, I think we should try this tomorrow. We should do this, whatever. And then we get back in there, and I'll be like, all right, cool. Let's try it like this, whatever. So he still has plenty of input and plenty of whatever, but he just lets me lead it for whatever reason. I don't know why he does that, but on the surface,
it's funny because it's like sometimes you let other people lead, so that you can soak in. So you can be the greatest leader in the world, but sometimes if you can just sit back to listen, it's mentorship. Like sometimes you may have mentors that you don't even realize are mentors, or that they don't realize they're mentoring you. But you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit back. So when he is here, I'm gonna learn what I can. I'm gonna listen to the playbacks of him talking. I'm gonna listen to his cadences. I'm gonna listen to
right. That makes sense.
I have the gig, like you said, you know, I always send somebody that's better than you. It's like, even with that, the thought of like the trust that you have in your abilities, the faith that you have in your abilities to send somebody better than you, because you know this is my name that's on the line. It's not my gig on the line. So
my name, I called this person.
Yeah. So that's amazing to me.
Yeah. That's man. How did you, Erskine? What will you say are some things that you gained in the beginning of your journey or along the way that really brought you to the place to where you were confident in who you were, confident in the position that God had afforded you, you know, the doors that were open, that you wasn't worried? Because there's a lot of people in different places, especially musically, that feel so threatened. Even in church, they feel threatened. Pastors, they feel. Like, what is this thing that you can share with the people who are listening, man, about how you came to a place to where you were fortified within yourself of who you were, what you had, and where God had brought you to?
Well, man, to be honest, I think from a practical standpoint, well, let me start with just my experiences in it. So once I got to the University of North Texas, man, some people know and some people don't. I was the first African-American to ever get a degree in jazz piano from there, an undergraduate degree. I think I don't know why I got this cable in my hand.
Congrats. That's so good.
I think somebody got their master's, maybe. I'm not really sure, but I know I was the first person to get my undergraduate jazz piano degree from that school. So with that, man, I always kind of like, for me, it's like if you can play jazz and play it authentically, that was the other thing. I was trying to make sure whatever I played it authentically. Starting in college, before college, in high school, it was like, everything sounded like gospel music. But then after that, it was like, if you're going to play classical music, I did wind up having to do classical music, even though I'd never played it before. So I wound up let me go back a little bit. So in college, I wound up doing 5.5 years to get my undergraduate degree because I never played classical music. So I wound up in this thing called secondary classical piano, which is it's like remedial is really what it is. It's remedial classical piano. So I had to do that my first semester, and then after that I was out of it. So I was in piano concentration. I was a classical piano major for 2 years. But then my last semester of classical piano, I failed. And if you fail a semester, you have to go back to remedial for a semester and then redo the semester that you failed. It puts you behind by a year. So I wound up failing it. And I asked my teacher, because we have juries at the end of each semester. And I was like, how did I fail that? I knew everything. I played everything. And this is where I would never go on any kind of live situation and say, the people at North Texas or the professors at the University of North Texas, there was any kind of race thing that was involved. I will say there were some great musicians that went to North Texas before me. Sean Martin was one, RC was one that went for the degree that I went for, but they never could get out of the classical piano program. As great as they are for whatever reason. And then I think in this semester that I failed, I found out why. This would have been my last one. And I walked in there, I played it. I was playing Bach. It was a prelude and fugue. I don't know which one it was, but she said, the jury failed you because you used the sustain pedal. Bach would have never used the sustain pedal because the sustain pedal wasn't invented yet, even though Bach played a harpsichord, not a piano. So that's the first thing. I was thinking because I was playing Bach and I was at a piano, I could use the sustain pedal. That was my thought. But she said, I'm not sure why you failed. This is my teacher who was telling me, I'm not sure why you failed, but they felt that you did not spend enough time with the music this semester for them to pass you because you should have known to not use the sustain pedal. For that reason, you have failed this semester, which means you go back for another semester and do secondary for a whole semester, then redo this entire semester, and then you move forward. So that...
Okay, I got a question. Did that change how you approach learning music?
When I tell you I almost quit, bro, I was so... Oh, well, I'm sorry. I almost quit because of that. It did change my perception, but yes, it changed how I learn music as well, because I'm like, I got to pay more attention. I pay attention to that stuff now. Here we are 10 years, from that situation, we're 13 years past that now. And I still what am I playing? Is this and this? Did this person have this? Like, I make sure I look at all that stuff now. I mean, my life isn't on the line anymore for it, but it definitely changed my perception of how I learn music for sure. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, that's when I realized I see why some of these guys did not make it out of here with that degree, because that was the only way at the time. Now, me being the first person to finish it, I raised holy hell. I raised holy hell about that, but the jury, the decision of the jury is final. Of course, wouldn't you know it, the semester I finally graduated, the semester I graduated, they changed that. Before you had to do 2 years of classical, before you get to your 2 years of jazz studies, 2 years of classical studies, before you get to 2 years of jazz studies, and then you get your degree. Now they have it to where you do jazz and classical concurrently all 4 years, which makes sense to me. And my logic and reasoning was when I talked to the dean about it, could you imagine having the classical piano majors who came to North Texas to study classical piano? Imagine having them have to do 2 years of jazz studies first before they get to the 2 years of classical that they came here to do. I promise you, they would never make it out of the jazz studies department. Never. The feel wouldn't be right. The soloing would be terrible. It would never happen. You would discourage them and you would lose them. So I'm not sure why, for the other way around, you're forcing the jazz majors to do all classical, like you are a classical major for 2 years, and then you get to do what you came here for. So they've now changed that rule since I made a stink. I mean, I'm not saying it was me, but the semester I left is when it changed. So
yeah, that's incredible.
That's for another day. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about it, getting mad all over. My bad, I'm 10 years past it, getting upset. Man, that's upsetting. But we made it through it, and I love my school, and I wouldn't be where I was without my school. But you were saying, I think we were talking about things that I learned along the way. Basically, is what we were saying.
Yeah.
Some things that I did. So let me see. So starting out of college, one thing that I did was I hit a whole bunch of musicians up. This is back when MySpace was still hot. I had a whole bunch of musicians.
MySpace,
right? I asked him, I was like, I want to do what you're doing. I don't want to be a local yokel. That was the term that I used. I don't want to be a local yokel. I want to do what you're doing. How can I do that? And I think it was Spanky said, man, you got to move. Like, how many artists do you know are going out from Dallas? If nobody's going out from Dallas, minus Erykah Badu. I mean, at the time, it was like Erykah Badu and Kirk Franklin, and those gigs were already like sewn up. There's already people doing that. Then you got to move to where artists are, where artists hiring from. So I was like, you know what? You're kind of on something. Now there's like artists here, kind of. But so I packed up after I graduated from North Texas. I did 1 semester of my master's. I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm ready to get started. So that was the first thing I did was I uprooted myself and left. I was like, I gotta do something different than other people have done, because I'm gonna wind up getting the same result that other people here. There are people trying to tour and whatnot, but it wasn't happening for them. So if I wait for my chance and just stand in the line, then it might not happen for me either. I got to figure out a different path. So that's why I moved to New York right out of college.
Oh, then, so you was in my neck of the woods, man.
I was in your neck of the woods, but I was actually
what year was that?
I was in Woodbridge, New Jersey, and then I would take the train in every day. It was about a 30-minute ride. This was 2011.
Incredible.
Yeah, I was there. It was there in 2011, and while I was there, that's when a friend of mine was music director for Chrisette Michele. And I knew him. He was in the military back when I lived on the military base with, my parents and whatnot. And he hit me up in 2007. I was like, yo, I'm working with this girl, Chrisette Michele, yada, yada. And I was like, yo, I'm quitting college. I'm on my way up there right now, man. Put me on. He's like, yo, if you quit, I'll never put you on. I'll never do it, because you got to finish your degree. So, here we are 4 years later. I move up there. I forgot about that, but he hit me up and he was like, man, our keyboard player is going back to school. And we're in need of a keyboard player. You down? And I was there. I think I was in New York for 2 weeks, and he hit me up, and that's how I started playing with Chrisette Michele. And from there, it's just been a snowball effect of from Chrisette Michele to Zendaya, from Zendaya to Eminem, from Eminem to Rihanna, from Rihanna to I'm honestly at that point it gets fuzzy, because after Rihanna was this and that, and then this person at the same time as this, and it just got really fuzzy. But I think one of the things with all the artists, the different artists that I work with, something that's really key is being versatile, but authentically versatile. Like I was saying earlier, I didn't want everything to sound like gospel music, because for some people who start in the church or even jazz, everything sounds like jazz. You know what I mean? If you're a jazz head or if you're a gospel musician, everything sounds like gospel. Oh, I could put this turn here. Yeah, that's cool, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Jessie J is not, well, Jessie J she's the churchiest artist I know, so she would love that. But there's some artists that don't like that stuff. So you got to you just have to be very authentic in the style of music. When I was working with David Foster, we played the music, and that was a reading gig as well. So that was something that I picked up along the lines while I was in college, was how to read. Wasn't the most intricate of reading, but it was very much I'm not going to say I was the best reader on the bandstand. I would never say that out loud. But I mean, there's things that I think I might have been the best reader on the bandstand. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't know that to be true. But there are some artists, like a couple of times where I've shown up where it's a reading gig, and that's okay. Actually, so from there, I've worked with a whole bunch of artists, but with Brian McKnight at Christmas this past year, man, we showed up in the orchestra. We sent in all the charts. Not we, I guess the manager sent in the charts. The San Francisco Symphony Orchestra. It was Brian McKnight and the San Francisco. So anyway, we were there, man. They had a chart that they wanted him to sing. I think it was Silent Night or something like that. But there were no chords on. I mean, they handed me a full out score, and they're like, "This is what we're gonna play tonight." And I was like, "Okay." So, man, I actually did okay during the first read. I did pretty well, but during the break, because I don't think anybody else on the bandstand in Brian's band reads like actual notes. There were no chord changes on there. Like, it was just the notes. So I sat down and, just from an analysis, which is something I learned in college, doing chord analysis, I transcribed the whole thing, made a lead sheet of it from what they gave us note for note. And then there was a copyright lady there, a copyist, and she made copies for the whole band and gave them that. But just those are just small things that I picked up along the way. Like, it's very important to know how to read music.
Okay, and then just for the people that are listening, some clarity. So when you're reading music, a lead sheet is for at least for Black musicians the favorite way to go, because
right.
Your chord names, you're set. So what he's saying is the initial thing that he got didn't have symbols of what chord to play at what particular spot. It was literally the notes on the staff, which for people that play jazz and even church, like we don't be seeing that many notes at one time. Like
it's a lot. I mean, goodness,
they don't work like that for us unless you've been through it. So what he's saying is he took all of these notes, analyzed what each bar was trying to represent. So it's like this phrase essentially means we're playing A major for 2 measures. This phrase we're going to go to D for, so he had to break that down so that the band could, do that.
The band could follow along. Because I mean, when I tell you that first read through at rehearsal, we was losing, brother. We was losing, but we made. I mean, so after I did all that, it was still cool. I still, for when we played it that night, and we also did the next night, I still read from the actual one that they gave me, and I just put the chords on top of it. But there was some stuff that I was doing with the orchestra, so I was like, I still had to do this. So that was something important that I actually made myself sit down and do. We're still technically, ladies and gentlemen, we're still in quarantine. It's not too late to sit down with the hymnal or something. I mean, and some theory books and really just dive into it. I'm not sure. As a professional in music, which we are, there's no reason why we should not know how to read. It'd be the same as reading English. I talk to you guys in English. I can sit down and read a book. If this is our profession, this is what we say to do, then we should be literate in our profession. So anyway, that's just something, that's just something I've worked on. I'm not the best at it. Oscar Williams is incredible. Oscar Williams is an incredible sight reader, but that's not my gifting. But I can sit down. If I sit down with it for 20 minutes, I mean, I'll have it down and write it out and whatever in rhythms. But that's something that I've learned along the way. Versatility, the things that everybody already says. Always say being on time. You know what else? Something else that I did, and this started back when I first started with Chrisette Michele, but it was before that. I was a gear hog. I don't know if you guys can see this back behind me. It's 1, 2, 3. I got a closet full of keyboards, and then I've sold some keyboards this week because it's just I had some redundancies. I don't need a montage 7 and a montage 8 and a montage 6. Like I don't need all those. I just like having it. But so I've sold some stuff. But something I've always done was I don't like setting sounds because that's part of the reason why people call me. I remember when I showed up with David Foster, my first time with him. He and Babyface are good friends. By this time, I was already working with Babyface, but this is an audition I was doing for David Foster. He already knew I was coming, and he said, "I've heard about you." And there was some sound that he was like, "No, I think we would leave." He was just talking. We were just talking about, if you land this tour, then we would leave that sound in the box, and this sound we would do, and this and whatever. And I was like, I could play that one. And he was like, "Are you sure?" I was very specific when I, made that sound. So I would need that specific sound. I was like, "Give me 2 seconds." So I sat down with the keyboard. I just kind of manipulated some stuff, tweaked some stuff, and listened to the sound a few times. I was like, "Oh, cool." And I made the sound that he was looking for. So for me, my sounds and being spot on with records and also being able, fast enough to work around keyboards. You need to know what keyboards you're going to use. I would also say nothing wrong with the motif, the Mo XF and the what is this? The new one, the not the montage. What's that new montage called? But it's not the montage though.
I know what you're talking about.
MODX or something like that. Whatever it's called. There's nothing wrong with those. I wouldn't recommend bringing those to a gig. I mean, I would definitely say if you're gonna do it, go on and go ahead and grab the motif or a montage. But being able to work around whatever board you're going to use, you got to be fast in it. That's the first thing. You got to know your sounds. You got to and not just strings and bells, be able to dig in that thing, manipulate the sounds and do it quickly. So for me, I found it handy because I don't like building sounds at rehearsal. I hate doing that. That's why I had my entire tour rig. I use 2 montages. I use a montage 8, a montage 7, a Phantom G7, and a Nord. That's normally my setup, depending on the artist. With Leon Bridges, I used a Chronos, Montage 7, and a Nord. So sometimes there's some differences, but whatever gear I would use on a tour, I also own it, so I can sit with it at the house. And before we're about to head out on an actual tour, if we're sitting down at rehearsal for a week, I would sit down for a week at the house by myself, setting all my sounds, saving to a flash drive. When I show up to rehearsal, I'm not now trying to set sounds because that's super stressful and they normally don't sound as good if you're doing it under pressure. So that's something else that I learned to do along the way, was like definitely know your gear inside and out. You don't have to be like a science whiz with it, but you should definitely know it well enough to be able to, to manipulate it and get around on it. But I think that's it, man. I don't want to. I think I've spent way too much time on that question. I'm so sorry.
No, you really haven't, man. It's stuff that's really, really, I think, so important, because at one point I wanted to be a touring musician. I really did. I just wanted to tour, man. I want to tour. I want to play for such and such. At one point, especially in gospel, oh man, I'm gonna play. I'm a Kevin Bond, man. Woo,
I love that guy. I love that dude.
I'm going. Woo, I'm gonna do records. I'm gonna play for everybody. I got a little older. I was like, never mind. I don't want to do that. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So, I'm saying that to say it's not cut out for everybody.
It's
because
not,
the
man.
Specifics of it, the demand of it, the pressure of it. Some people have not learned to be versatile yet. Some people can't take correction. Some people don't have the preparation ethics that's needed. So everything you shared, man, was so important. The specifics, be in the details. Some people are not detailed enough. Just because you learn a song and you can play all the chord changes and you know what it is, are you playing with the right sounds? Jamar Jones, he was telling me how when he played for Jill Scott, still does, he said how he was vertical. They
call him the octopus. Yeah, that's what
the octopus. Yeah. He's able to play multiple boards at the same time. You know what I mean? And so for me, I can do that, but that ain't my thing. Mm-hmm. You put me on a piano, I'm gonna wear that out. You put me on an organ, by God's grace. I'm on roads, by God's grace. You put me on a string pad, by God's grace. So it's like you have to really make sure, for those who are listening, for those who will hear this, a person like Erskine is a perfect, I believe he is a perfect example, one that you can look to learn from, that the importance of the details, the work ethic that is needed, because you have to, everything from creating a sound. Can you do what the artist needs? Can you do what the artist didn't tell you they needed? Yeah. I'm sure he has his stories of what they didn't tell him before he got there that was going to be needed, that he had to make the adjustment to. So these are things, as those who are listening who want to play for artists, you have to be prepared for the shift. Be prepared for the change. Be prepared for things that might not go the way that you practiced it or go the way that you prepared in your mind for. Can you adjust and still be excellent?
You know what? The other thing I'll add to that, can you, some people really get in there. Not some. I'm not gonna say some people. Some musicians really kind of get in their feelings sometimes when things do change. That's not the way we rehearse. I see it sometimes in church. That's not what you sent out. That's not what was in the planning center. Bro, just, you know what I'm saying? Breathe. It's okay. It's not in planning center, but that's the way we're gonna do it today. I see that a lot now. I don't know why it's like that. It's real bad in church, but. So, but like you said, it's being able to do it and not getting your feelings. Because at the end of the day, man, my name isn't up on the billboard. I don't really care if we get out there and play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star for 2.5 hours. Doesn't make me any difference. What would you like me to do? You tell me what you want me to do. My job.
Say that again.
I don't care if we play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star for 8 hours up there on stage. I'm not the one singing. You tell me. Don't nobody know I'm up here. Not really. So because you tell me what you would like to do.
You said your name is not what?
My name's not on the billboard. My job is to sit here and come in here. So whatever sound you want me to play, however you want me to. There's too many notes in that chord. Can you play it more simple? Sure can. That's not a problem. All right, look, how are you hearing it? You want me to play it softer, louder? You tell me what you want, and not get frustrated by it either. Like, we could sit and rehearse it 55 times. I'm not bothered by it, because at the end of the day, my job is to come in here, make sure you're happy with what you're hearing, and then I go home and I don't think about it anymore. Oh, I'll listen to it or whatever. We go out here, we'll play this show, and people are out there screaming for you and cheering your name. it has nothing to do with me. So at this point, I'm just a keyboard player.
Do you think that comes from, especially a lot of the touring musicians have some type of church background, especially in R&B and all of these type of things. Do you think that has to deal with the fact that you came from a situation, at least 10 years ago, where at church, I can play what I want to play. Like the song is this way. If I want to make changes, I can make changes. And then you take that mentality into the road and you end up back at the house.
You do. Yeah. That'll get you sent home faster than anything else, especially if you don't take, like you said, taking criticism well. It's not really criticism. It's more like this is just kind of what the artist wants to hear, and they want to hear it a certain way. But some people really take offense to that because, man, I'm a much better musician than that. I mean, like what I'm playing is 10 times better than what you want. Like you just don't. You got to trust me that I know what's better for you than what you want me to.
Lord.
Like that's not what you're saying out loud, but that is what you're saying by your actions, by like, oh, this is the way I want to do it. And then you get frustrated, and then the artist gets frustrated, and then you're on a plane heading home. So it's just 10 times easier just going, whatever you want. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. All right, cool. From the top, let's do it again. So that's that's something that I've learned along the way. You just kind of sit.
Man, when I tell you, bro, I just been sitting and I just been taking in, because it's amazing. Man, and see for you guys that are listening, this is what Behind the Music with Q is about. People see the stuff that people do on stage, but they don't know what happens behind the scenes. They don't know the preparation. They don't know the time. They don't know the discipline that you have to have. There is so much that goes into before you stand up on that stage, even before you come to rehearsal. And I love hearing Erskine talk about his preparation. Erskine, do you think your military background, your father being in the military, had something to do with your discipline? Because I found for me, honestly, as much as I have been blessed, I have had to learn discipline on a whole nother level because I think from here.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't come and think from there in every situation, Cornell. You got to, but I didn't have certain disciplines growing up. I didn't have that. So do you think the military background, how did that affect you as far as your preparation and just that discipline that you had?
Man, I don't know if it's military per se. I know it's just my parents, and maybe because they were in the military, like my parents now are just, man, we weren't allowed to make mistakes. And that's like I say this in all the love because I don't know if they're watching or not. And I'm not exaggerating. Like I really don't know. Like we were not allowed to make mistakes. If we made a mistake on something, like when I was growing up, I just learned how to play that Ancient of Days. Man, if we got home, it didn't sound right. My mom was gonna like, hey, what's going on over there? I don't know, because my brother plays bass, so I was learning to play keys, and my brother first started on guitar, and then he moved to bass because the minister of music's son played bass. So when the whole family left, there was no bass player, no piano player. So my brother now plays bass because of that. But anyway, so if there was something wrong, I mean, like she would let us have it. When we were younger than that, in the Christmas play, man, you forget your lines, you've embarrassed me. I mean, we get home, it was the bell. I mean, she did not play. So that's where I got my discipline from. We don't embarrass my parents on stage. So that's where not the perfection necessarily comes from, but definitely like making sure I know my stuff. There was something else you said that I wanted to piggyback off of. You were saying that most people don't see the behind the scenes part of it. Man, the 1 hour or the 90 minutes we're on stage, that's easy. That's the easiest part of the entire job. Playing a show, super simple. The other 22 and a half hours that you spend with these people, that's where it's tough. Because now you can't necessarily be a loner. I am, by nature, I like to be by myself. But when I'm out traveling, I don't do that. If we're, hey y'all, we're going to dinner, we're gonna meet in the lobby in 20 minutes. I was laying down, but I'm gonna get up and go because I'm not gonna be antisocial. So you gotta be cool to hang out with. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot to it. Like there's some people who are drunks out on the road. I mean, they're not drunks at home. I don't know, but like people don't want to have to babysit, you if you don't know how to hold your alcohol. Or there's a whole lot more to it. So being on the stage, super easy. Can you make lobby calls on time? That's annoying. If we gotta leave you several times, we got a 5-minute thing. And most of the bands I'm in, you got 5 minutes past lobby call. Some of them, if you're riding with the crew, you don't get 5 minutes. you know, the time we leave is the time we leave. But that's where it gets tough. That's where a lot of people really lose. You can be killing on stage. I had to go to, when I first started working with Jessie J, I think it was a Friday. I was here in Dallas. My wife and I moved to Indiana. So we were in Indiana. I was working in Sweetwater, but I came to Dallas to MD an award show. This was a Friday, and a friend called me and said, yo, some stuff went down with Jessie J's keyboard player. We're out here in Amsterdam. Can we book you a flight and have you here tomorrow? I'm like, well, actually, I got an award show I'm MDing tomorrow, so I can't come tomorrow. I can be there Sunday, or I can leave Sunday. But first, you got to fly me back to Indiana so I can tell my wife that I'm coming, and then I need to grab my other suitcase, and then I'll head out there. So they did. They booked me a flight back to Indiana so I can go home. I kissed my wife for like 5 minutes, and then got on a plane. Hey, okay, Dad, come here. Okay, he's showing us he's got French fries in his mouth. I'm so sorry, my son.
Man, no, man, we about family.
This is the boy here.
You good, man?
My bad, y'all. So anyway, so that's what happened. Man, hey, say hi. Hi. This is
So is
Erskine
the fourth?
Yeah, this is him, man. Bye-bye. Go downstairs. Eat your French fries. Bye-bye. No, it's okay. He opened the door. Go ahead. All right, he's fine. So anyway, so that's what, man, I wound up learning that entire show on the plane. Okay.
You good, bro? Man, listen, we about that family, man. We about family.
This is behind
my fault. I'll go get him in a little bit. He gonna cry until I get down there. It's all good. But anyways, man, I wound up learning that entire show. This is something that I learned how to do in college. I learned how to learn. I'm gonna get to that question too. But I had to learn the show because I was out. I didn't have a keyboard in my room. So I had to learn her entire show in 2 days. So I actually wrote it out. I wrote out in Roman numerals just so I could have it, and did as much as I could. I actually wrote it out, her entire show, start to finish, 90 minutes with like Roman numerals on my phone, commas in the place where there were spaces and this and that or whatever. And then I landed in Amsterdam on Monday morning, and we went straight to sound check. And she didn't care that I'd never played the show before. She wanted that thing to be right. And I feel like it was better than it was before I got there. That's just me. But it was cool. But the dude got sent home. Something happened apparently on the tour bus. He had too much to drink and started spouting off at the mouth. And they were like, oh, you at the very next stop, you get on a plane and we're sending you home. And they flew me in. So that's where that, you know, it has nothing to do with the stage. It's about the rest of it, being on the tour bus, all that.
And it's what's funny to me, because I haven't had that experience, but it's funny to me because they have the money to hire you, but they also have the money to fire you
and send you home. That's if they're nice. Sometimes they'll just let you off the bus.
I'm not sure what language this is, but we thank you.
Looks like French.
It's French.
Yeah, French.
Thanks from France.
Is it Colossus? Man, we love you, brother.
Maybe it's French. No, I'm not sure. But there was this question over here. I don't know if y'all wanted to get to that question or.
Yeah, we can get back to it. This is a really great question because it's something that a lot of people that go to music school wonder. They're like, is the degree that I'm in worth what I want to do after the fact? And this is something for just general education and period. Like, I'm going to school for a degree in nursing, but do I want to be a nurse after I finish? Or what's the best route of, whatever the case may be?
Well, if I was going to answer this question, I would say, what are your goals? Are you going to school like to get a performance degree because you want to do touring for a living, or or you want to play for a living? Because I guess if you want to be a producer, I don't think you would go for a performance degree. So I would say, is it worth it? If I ever want to go, is it best to go for performance? I would say whatever the career field is that you want to do in music, I would definitely go for that. And not just pick any college, go to the right college for that, like do your research on that, and go for it. I will say, in the performance rack, I had to get my minor in, I had to get my minor in music theory. That was definitely helpful. Like I gave that example about the symphony orchestra. So that was helpful. And when I first started with Eminem, my nickname, they called me Degree. I guess I went in there, man. I was a little Like his music is very classical-esque, at least from the piano standpoint. The rest of the band is very hip-hoppy, but his stuff was all like, most of it was sampled from, I'm not sure what they were using to sample the piano stuff, but like, man, those classical chops definitely came in handy with his music. So for me, I was like, no, that's a such and such chord with the such and such and whatever. For them, they're just listening to this, the beat, and this whatever. For the rest of the band, not from my chair, from where I was, that's not the way I thought about it. This is a dominant second chord with the such and such happening and this arpeggio, because it was very involved from my standpoint. So anyways, they called me Degree. So I would recommend,
did you have to, so for that stuff, did you have to play all of that stuff out, or was some of it tracked out like for his stuff?
It was heavy tracks, but I mean, I played all that stuff. I mean, I had my 4 or 5 keyboards. I played as much stuff as I could. There was a second keyboard player as well, so he did all the aux stuff on that gig. And that's where I really started like, man, this dude is really playing. Like he's got, each keyboard's got like 4 sections to it. So he's playing 2 bells here, and this here, and then this here, and this here. That's on one board. Then on another board, he's got it separated into 4. So he's playing like specific parts and specific parts of the keyboard. And then on this board, he's playing like guitar, doubling with the guitar. I was like, man, that's how I wound up being an aux player with Babyface. Because I took what Monty Newell was doing. I was like, yo, I want to do that. Because I can play, like you were saying, I can play here, and I was still playing different parts and whatever, but I had never split the keyboard up into different pieces. And I was like, yo, I'm going to play one part here, one part here, one part here, one part here on 4 keyboards. Each board has 4 parts. I'm playing 16 different parts at one time. And that's what Jamar does too. He's got one board that uses the main board, and then he's playing tons of parts. So that's kind of something that I picked up from there. But yeah, anyway, they called me Degree for a while until I guess, I don't know if they still call me Degree or not.
Oh man!
So it's cool. Get your degree anyway. Don't I don't tell nobody about it no more.
So I remember I don't know if you reached out to me or how I found out about it. I think you were in town and you were doing Chrisette Michele rehearsal.
Oh yeah.
And I came out. There was probably like 10 people out that day. And it was so interesting to hear in that, like I've used that rehearsal space that you were in, but it was so interesting to hear a professional band in that setting, because even with the equipment that was in the room, it sounded like you were at a live show, to the pads and everything. It was like, whoa, like the sound filled the room. And it felt like it was nothing like being at church. It was nothing like being at these things, but you sitting there, and she wasn't even at the rehearsal.
She wasn't, yeah. I think that one, we were prepping, we were heading to South Africa. I didn't get to go. So that was one of those things where Philip Cornish was playing. I was there, I was just the music director. But man, that was a cool experience. I'm glad I missed it. I don't miss those flights though. That South Africa flight, that's a 28-hour flight, 26-hour, whatever it is. And I've been a couple of times. I'll never have to go back over there. I love it over there, though. If anybody's watching from South Africa, it just takes forever to get over there. But man, yeah, I definitely, for me, if I'm programming a show, or if I'm putting a show together, if I'm the music director for it, I like everything to be balanced. Some audio engineers, they just look at the meter and they're like, oh, everything's balanced here on the meter, then that's what it is. I personally don't think that's what balance is. For me, I think balanced is if we didn't have a sound engineer here and I hit play, I want the softer songs to come in softer and the louder songs to come in, or the softer songs to be soft. You know what I mean? Like the playback should match. But for some engineers, they just, oh, that song's too soft, boost it up. I know it's soft. It's a ballad. It's supposed to be softer. So that's just that's what I like to do, which is why you're saying like, man, it just felt so balanced. Yeah, and it should feel balanced even without a sound guy there, because you got to spend the time with your ears in. I just like to play along to the whole playback if you've got access to it. I play along with my in-ears in, and if something's too loud, turn it down. If it's not loud enough, like I actually balance each thing while I'm playing. It's easier to do that in rehearsal with the band and just keep going over each song and then balance the playback as you go. But don't change your keyboard volume, don't change your drums, don't change anything. And then when you get to a stage, the show is actually balanced according to the way you're playing the show. That's something I like to do. Not everybody does it that way, but that's what I like to do, because I just think it flows smoother that way. And then you don't have your engineer chasing your levels the whole time because stuff is too loud. But anyways, that's yeah,
And I
that
think
was
that's
a cool rehearsal.
that's a great church thing, because we don't have the engineers that you have on the road.
Right. Exactly.
Be
Yeah.
mad when the sound not right, but it's like, well, you got to do some part yourself. I remember years ago when when we would have to, like, we would just be playing, and then the people, I was at a gig where they were like, "Hey, bro, you need to turn down." I'm like, "No, the sound man needs to turn down. If it ain't right out there, turn it down."
Nah.
And you
Nah.
were like, "No, y'all have ears, and we don't have a good sound man. So you gotta
You gotta be the sound man, the keyboard player, the music director. I mean, you gotta do the whole, you gotta do the whole thing. But that's something I like to do. You can definitely in the church world as well, like make sure all those stems are balanced. We had to do that today at a rehearsal. Had to balance some stems out while we were rehearsing. Yeah.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible, man. What I love is, man, I love the fact that what I'm finding amazing, man, the more I learn about you, we actually got to sit down together and do some playing. Just kind of, it almost reminds me of what you were saying about when the teacher will let you start off your high school days. You come in and for an hour and a half, just play whatever. Yeah. So unscripted at NAMM 2018, I believe.
Whoever's got the footage of that, go on and delete it.
Man,
I got smashed into the ground.
Send it to me. If anybody finds hear this clip, man, and it was just amazing to just be able to sit down with you. I mean, we freestyle. I think we played a tune, but we had to play that tune for about maybe almost 10 minutes, and it was just so refreshing because I had heard, I had seen, but then to sit down and just play with you, man, I was just like, wow, this is truly an individual who has so much value, and you could tell, man, it's not just your humility, but also knowing your worth and knowing your value. Because I think sometimes because people don't know their value, they just allow certain things to be done to them because they don't know that they can say that. And so I think it's incredible, like for you to say, hey, y'all want me in Amsterdam, you're going to have to fly me to Indiana to go home and do this, and then I'll be able to come. And you took it upon yourself to state what you would need to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And they see the value in you to do that. And it's like, I think it's so important to make sure that you know your value, you have a proper estimation of what your value is. You just can't come in every setting and begin to make demands and you ain't work for that.
Nah.
You haven't earned that. You have to earn what you're asking for. Just to see how you have definitely created such a value for yourself, but then the Lord has opened up doors for you because you have the right spirit and the right heart. That blesses me so much. It's like people at NAMM didn't know who you were. I knew, I kind of knew some things about your resume, and I'm like, he sits down, and some people didn't know, but I know, and I'm like, yo, he's just as humble, bro. You were just so humble through the whole thing. I'm like, oh man, I got blessed today. I got to play with I think I told Antoine when I got back too.
This dude is saying that until somebody finds that video, and I'm sounding a hot mess. Yo, dude plays circles around. I'm never sitting down with you
right now for it.
Never sitting down with you ever again at the piano. Never gonna happen.
It has to be. And I'm, one thing I think is amazing is there's a lot of musicians, and we're not going to be on too much longer, you guys. But one thing I think is amazing, I was looking at something today, and I was absolutely blown away. And you had said something, and I don't think you was necessarily relating it to something bad, but we do have a lot of musicians in the industry right now that in their season of plenty, they didn't do what was right with it. And so they find themselves in a hard situation to where they're waiting, in great anticipation, almost like can't wait for the next thing. Yeah. But I really want to encourage somebody who's listening to say, this is an opportunity to allow God to reveal to you through someone or something, through his spirit, I don't know, reveal to you there's another level to your potential. There's something else that you have inside of you that you don't know, that you must tap into, and make adjustments, make proper assessments to some things. So when the opportunity comes again, you'll be in a better place. But for those who are searching and saying, man, my pockets are getting low, and I need different things, because I don't believe everybody can say right now, yo, I am in a great place. Man, money's still rolling in. Every musician can't say that right now.
Man, let me tell you which musicians can't say that right now. Touring musicians. I know a lot of church musicians, a lot of church, because I haven't steadily played in the church. It's been some years since I've done that. But I know before this whole COVID thing started, man, there was that whole $100 gig thing that people were talking about. I know if that $100 gig thing came up again, I think 99% of the people was, I would never do 100. I'm sure we'd see them up on the bandstand. But a lot of people in church, you know, they were just like, yo, I want to get out there and tour. I want to do this. I want to do that. Man, people playing in church, not everybody. I know some churches had to, you know, cut back a little bit for the most part, though. Churches have still been taking care of their musicians. People out on the road, you know, you're on your own. These artists don't, I'm not saying they don't care, but like you are seriously out on your own. I've been blessed to be able to play. I've been filling in here and there every now and again. I think my saving grace is the fact that my wife has a great job. So I'm, you know, I'm cool either way, and I'm still doing a little bit here and there. But man, it really is a blessing. However God has you serving right now is cool to do. And there's nothing wrong with it at this time. If you gotta, you know, get you a 9 to 5 or whatever the case is, I think the goal is to get through 2020. I think is that's the goal. Come out of this thing with some new tools under your belt and whatever else, if you got to explore something else. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a musician. I know we as musicians, we sometimes believe that we're elite. I know, you know, I know what we are as musicians. It's a club. It is. This is a club, and we're, you know, we're in a club of our own. But it is okay to be like, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and get this. I'm gonna get this 9 to 5 for right now. It's all right. I think music is gonna come back eventually, but I think God's using this moment to humble a lot of us and show us things about ourselves, and take this moment to lead us back to Him too.
That's right.
So for some of us, for sure.
Yeah, you know what? Before we close, man, then I want to get your last thoughts. I don't know if Antoine has any more questions you want to ask, but I wanted to say, I think it's. I believe that we're in a time. I was watching something, and I can't remember it vividly, but I remember it vaguely, but enough to say. And I would love to get your thoughts on it. I don't know if Antoine is saying this, I doubt it, but they were saying and the word that sparked it was club. When you said club, musicians is so I think we feel it's an elite club that we are a part of. But if we are, which I do believe we are in some ways, a club, not necessarily elite, even though you have that, but that shouldn't be, you know, it shouldn't be in a negative connotation.
It should not,
you know. But when I think about that, this club that we are, there is enough musicians, and there is enough there's enough money within this musician stuff, that this musicianship in this musician world, that we can build our own satellite. We should have our own television stations. We should have our own radio. There's enough money. But I don't think we thought in that way to say, I have this that I'll be willing to invest or bring to the table. And then we get everybody to chip in to create our own like market, but to add not just to the economy, to add to our own economy as well, in helping the economy, but really helping us in times of these. And I appreciate people like who's this? You know him. You got Arlington Jones, Never Foundation, and some others. So there's ways that we can help one another. But what would it be like? What's your thoughts if we would come together and talk to some of the elite people who have the funds, and not just the funds, but the relationships, to be able to create some things concerning finances, concerning economy, concerning even some structures, generational wealth. Let's buy some things that benefit not just the record companies. I'm not against that. I'm not against anything in the industry. But what are some things that really benefit those who are on the low part of the totem pole of the things, that don't get the opportunities, that don't get this? Because they say musicians are a dime a dozen. I hate that. I dislike that with a passion, that whole concept. But it's true. It has become so true that there's so many that are devastated. So many feel that the opportunity will not come. So many can't take care of their family. So many, and it's like, what can we do to begin to start to think generationally, think 10 years, 20, 30 years from now to establish something that can really just help us to be able to be in a better place to take care of family. What's your thoughts on some of that, man? I've seen it in passing.
That's super. Yeah, I would have to think on that for a minute. I'm not really even sure where that would start. Hey, you got anything for that one?
It's a generational wealth question. When it boils down to it, it's like when we think of musicians, it's constantly a work for hire. When we think of artists, until you build your own, it's a work for hire. So I think the key to starting that is saying, well, what can I do as a musician to start hiring?
True.
Because me and my kids went to exercise this morning, and our conversation, we passed by some people doing some roofing, and then my son was like, "Oh, there's a kid over there." I was like, "Yeah, he's making money. He's probably your age. He's making money today roofing with his family. And years from now, if he ever needs some side money or wants to do something,
he has a trade.
He has that trade." So earlier you mentioned, Erskine, how I don't think you mentioned it on the podcast, but we were talking about how this downtime, like you don't even have your keyboards hooked up right now because it's like, hey, I want to explore, some.
Not on the stand, brother. It's not on the stand.
So I think the generational wealth thing is saying, all right, now in this season, I can still play, but imagine my playing not being my source, but being my side. So now what do I do in this gap to continue to build? So a friend of mine, we'll talk. Honestly, we talk like once every 6 months for like 6 hours. But he's gone from day trading to investing. And
I was just about to bring that up, that aspect of it. And that's definitely something I'm into, like super heavy, which is part of the reason why keyboards are not up. Man, I've been investing. I've actually been working on this since 2012. And I've really been studying the stock market a whole lot. I've actually made some money during this coronavirus thing, which is part of the reason why I'm not like I gotta do music like that necessarily. But I will say, if you're talking about building generational wealth, first I would start with this generation's wealth, because I don't know how we can pass wealth down if we don't have wealth here. There's a lot of guys who spend literally every cent that comes in, not because they have to. It's different spending because you have to pay bills, but it's another thing to spend because, these shoes just came out, or like if it's gear, I mean, you can never have enough gear. I think at some point you got to be like, all right, cool, I got enough gear. But for the most part, if you're buying towards your craft, I'm never going to like shoot that down. But there's some stuff that we don't have to have, like clothes and whatever the case may be. I think starting with like financial literacy for a lot of musicians, I think that would really help to build a better future. If we're going to pass anything down, we have to learn how to be good stewards of what we currently have, which I don't think a lot of us are. So it's really hard to build something that's going to acquire any kind of value and keep it, because we're, as of right now, a lot of people's thing is, if you have any money in the bank, pull it out, let's go spend, as opposed to just put it in, let's invest. And a lot of people don't even know how to do that yet. So I think having some financial literacy would be actually really good for us as musicians to have, especially because the way that we earn our income isn't as steady as everyone else's. So we really have to know, even more than most people with a regular 9 to 5, how to save money, how to budget. Like, it has to be a routine thing of how do we save our money and be ready for rainy days like COVID-19. I don't think anyone ever thought. I mean, my parents have told us since we were kids, be ready for a rainy day. I never thought I'd have a rainy year. I've never seen this. I don't think anyone's ever seen a rainy, save for a rainy year.
You just internet with that statement.
Save for a rainy year. I've never seen anything like that before. I don't think you could have saved enough. I mean, like I said, thankfully, my wife has a great job. So that's been my saving grace. And I've always saved money, but I don't think I would have been set for a hit like that. I might have been. But I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, long term, if this thing goes longer than 8 or 9 months, I'd be like, uh-oh, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people, though, were already in trouble within the first 2 or 3 weeks of stuff being shut down. So that's a financial literacy thing and a thing that we have to attack before we can get to, okay, now let's do something for the next generation of musicians. We got to attack this
radio
first.
station happens. The radio station, all those things happen after the financial literacy. And literally, it's like, well, even if we came together in partnerships, it's like 100 people out of the 102 got bad credit. So we can't.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't. Yeah. We got to get, once we get it straight here, then we can build whatever we want to build. We can go as high as we want to go, as long as everyone is like-minded. We don't have to be like-minded in everything, because the diversity is what makes us stronger. But like-minded, at least in the way that we handle money, because there is a right way to handle money, and that's been tried and proven. So, and that's what makes the world go around. So I think that'd be that's where I would start, is financial freedom for a lot of musicians.
Well, I'm definitely ready, man. I'm ready to really look into the next thing, because I really believe that teamwork makes the dream work. But as well as that, it's such a time for it's almost like it's something about the minds, like you said, having the same mindset, the same set of mind, same concepts, yet the diversity, but yet the main thing being the main thing. So I really believe that this is a time to come together to really establish things. Like you said, before we can get to the generational stuff, we have to deal with individual stuff.
Absolutely.
I believe that there are some people who have a voice and have enough influence to really begin to establish things that help us to see beyond the now, our current situation, beyond 2020, to really, and I want to definitely get to that question. And then we'll get our closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think we have two that we'll try to get to.
But I really thought about that, and I'm glad you said that, Antoine, and I'm glad you said that, Erskine, because I'm really trying to think, because I believe that the playing field is being leveled to where certain things used to be this person was on top, this person. Now other people who have not had an opportunity, now the stage is being set, that if you are prepared, that if you're ready, if you have the openness, if you're apt to teach, if you're teachable, if you know how to conduct yourself when you get in rooms. We talked about it in that former podcast as well. When you get to the room, what will you say? How will you conduct yourself? How will you operate? So I really believe that there's some people, businesses and stuff, they're looking for our genius. They're looking for our brilliance. They're looking for our ideas. And it's going to take us to another level, to where we'll be able to build, to where we won't have to wait on a record company to get our music out. So like for me, I'm an artist, an artist, and not in the sense of, I'm not all of that. But my music, hotel lobbies, hotel vestibules, XFM radio, all over the world, everywhere you go, department stores, my music must be there. You go sit in a restaurant, my music must be there. That's what I want. You look on TV, you're going to see my name in the credits. You're going to see that's what I'm looking to do, because I believe that gives me the ability to, like Tyler Perry was saying, and I'll be quiet, man. Tyler Perry was saying something that was absolutely amazing. He said he got to the point in his life to where he was able to hire people. He was able to have employees, and he became so huge and so big that he was able to, nothing he wanted to do in his mind was limited by, well, that ain't never been done before. Well, you can't do that because this. He pressed past all of those barriers. And now this guy is almost a billionaire, if he ain't a billionaire.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, what's stopping us from being next? You know what I mean? To be in that position, because there's so many people who need what God has given to us. So I just want to say that, man. That was a question that somebody was asking. What was that question, Antoine? Was that Aaron Lewis?
So actually, there was one before him. So I think we kind of addressed this one, but we can take this one again. A lot of people just studying jazz. How many people actually graduated with you, Erskine, as it relates to jazz piano?
Well, real quick, Marcus Little, what up, brother? I remember. So Marcus Little, he's watching. He's a friend of mine. We were in at UNT together studying jazz piano.
Oh wow!
Yep. So, are there a lot of people studying jazz piano? I think I feel like I'm not sure what the program at North Texas looks like now. I know that the piano department was always the smallest department. I know that for a fact. It was the jazz piano department was always the smallest department, and I think it's I don't know how many people graduate with me in jazz piano. I'm not really sure, but I think it's a good idea to at least try to do it. That's just my opinion. I mean, it depends on what you want to do in life, but I think learning music, period, on a college level is I think that's always a great thing.
All right, and then the other question was this one.
Aaron Lewis, Dr. Lewis.
She wants to be an organist for a church or an R&B keyboardist. She had to spice the process. Okay. Despises the process of reading music and music theory. Okay. All right.
Oh, that's strong.
Despises the process of reading music and music theory, but they want to be an organist for a church or an R&B keyboardist. I would say it's not imperative that you know music theory. I mean, but I think music theory just makes your job easier. I definitely think that. I think it, if you're talking to someone, let's just say, I'm going to use me as an example because I was a music director for a couple of artists. So for me as an example, if I'm MDing a band and I call out a chord, I do expect you to know like your chords and your chord names. Yo, we're playing a C69, you know what I mean? Or we're going to play here. I'm thinking we're going to do a sharp 11. And over that, like if you were for the guitar player, this is our chord that we're going to land on. Give me something Lydian or whatever. I need you to know what I'm talking about. And I'll explain it. That's fine. But like it just makes music theory really isn't that hard. It's really not. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to, you could go through the whole thing in 6 months and really have it down packed, because of what a lot of musicians don't know is you already know music theory. You just don't know what most stuff is called. You just got to put names to the stuff that you already know. Oh, that's that. Oh, I know that chord. Oh, I can play that. Oh, that's this scale. Oh, I know. Most musicians, we really know a lot of the stuff already. But what would I say to that young musician who wants to be the organist of the church? Man, if this is your craft, if this is your profession, this is your livelihood, you should know or want to know as much about this as possible. Reading music, I get it. It's hard. When I first started, learning how to read cat, hat, bat, I mean, you start slow. Eventually, you get it. But you don't ever want to be put in a situation where you're embarrassed. Like, you know what I mean? Like you show up and they're like, today in the hymnal, this is at church and anywhere else, we want to do this song. And here's the hymnal. You got a guest that comes and they want to sing this song. You've never played it before, but here's the hymn book. It's number 377 or whatever the case is. Like you should be able to handle whatever comes with the, like, I am a musician. So whatever that means with that music theory, reading, you don't have to be the best reader in the world, but you should be able to do some of it. I don't know about what would you guys say to the despising part?
Woo. My statement was going to be that playing music with other musicians, playing music with other musicians is a relationship, and who wants to be in a relationship with somebody that can't communicate?
Okay, yeah.
That's
so that's all I kind of had for that. Like, it's hard for us to communicate. Like, whether it's reading or not reading, just helps improve some stuff. Music theory helps improve some stuff. But at least if I can say, like you were saying, hey, this is where we're going, and even if you don't know it yet, if you're open to have it, to allow me to communicate it to you so that you can do it, we'll work. But like at the end of the day, sometimes we pay people for the ease of what they bring to the table. So if you're the guitar player that I would have to like play each note of the chord and be like,
oh,
okay,
bro,
let me get, no, not that chord. Move your finger up one fret.
I'll do it the first day. The second day I might have somebody else come, but I'll do it the first day though.
Yeah.
On day number 2, I don't think I'm. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the situation, if I have a choice, and I might call somebody else the second day.
Oh Jesus!
That's just me. Because I'm like, oh, we got to be able. We got to be expeditious, and I want to be able
time
to move.
Time is money, man.
Yeah, I want to be able to move quickly.
Money happens in time. Well, you that despise is a very strong word, especially in a field as a young musician. You don't know everything. You got to be open. You got to be apt to teach. You got to be teachable. I think once you stop learning, you're on your way to death, literally.
Yeah.
You got to be open to continue to learn for the rest of your days. So despise at a young age. If you're a teenager, no, you should never say it. If you're in 20s, even in your 30s, there's still so much that you have to learn. So despise is a very strong word. If you're looking to want to be on R&B stages like Erskine or a gospel musician, you're going to have to change your language, change your thoughts, what you say, how you think, and really find a mentor. Find somebody that you can respect, and you can take correction from or take suggestions from. That's really going to help you to make sure that you're setting the proper foundation for where you want to go. That's so important.
And the longer you're in the music game, the more annoyed you get when people don't know stuff. It's like the longer you do this, it's like, yo, like when I was 21, I could have this conversation, but like it's the same thing with even in marriages, relationships, all that type of stuff. After we've been in this game for 3 or 4 years, I shouldn't have to tell you to put the toilet seat down no more. Like first, like those things become frustrating if you despise communication or despise the methods of communication.
Music theory,
you're probably not teachable.
So what is it? Overati had a question. This will be the last question that we'll take, guys, and we're gonna sign off. Get our last statements here. Did you see where he put his?
I think we answered that one.
We answered that. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll say this in my closing remarks, and then I want Erskine to close out, and Antoine, if you have anything. But we're so honored that you have joined us today, and you've taken time to come and share with us Behind the Music with Q. My co-host Antoine Chambers. Continue to try to add value to your life. Talk about the stories behind the music, and what a story we heard today from our brother and our friend Erskine Hawkins the third. Honored to have you, my brother. Thank you for taking time. I know that you had a busy day today, but man, you're on here with us, just dropping knowledge, dropping so many key wisdom and nuggets, man, that people could definitely use to just continue to help them in the system and in their lives, both musically and practically in their lives. So thank you so much, man, for being here. Challenging, changing one life at a time. That's my heart's desire, to see you to be the best that you can be for those who are listening, those who will hear this. Erskine, you have any thoughts, man? Any last words that you want to share today?
Man, I think, so for last words, I know we already touched this already, man. This coronavirus thing isn't going to last forever, y'all. I think, I know depression is a silent killer. So, I mean, if you find yourself just not really being ambitious about things, I know a lot of people don't even know what depression looks like. So I don't know why God's laying on my heart to just say, like, if you're losing a lack or a passion to do the things that you normally do, like I know some people are losing their passion to do music right now, or whatever the case may be. It's okay to want to take a break from it, but definitely don't sit back and let the enemy beat you into this corner of, we're not ever coming out of this. Things aren't going to be the same, whatever. Man, don't believe the lies of the enemy. Don't believe it. We're definitely coming out of this thing. Things are going to get back to some sort of a normal, and you're going to be all right. That's all I got.
That's good, man. Thank you, bro, for sharing. Dwan?
That's great. I think that actually leads into what my kind of closing thought. And I was going to say it earlier, but the hungry eat. So whatever you want to do in life, you have to be hungry enough for it to do it. And if you're hungry enough, you will find a way to eat. You will find a way to press through the depression, whether it's through prayer or whatever the case may be. You'll press through the seasons of lack because you're hungry. And it's like, and when I say hungry, it's like, hey, I want to build a house. So I'm going to figure out how to build a house. I want to get my credit together. So I'm hungry enough to know that once I get this credit together, I'm going to be full. I'm going to feel better. All of these types of things. So I think even at the beginning, the thought for the day was you reap what you sow. Like if you're not sowing effort into it, even sometimes on the hard days, you'll find yourself like in those moments where you like just want to give up. But if you're hungry for even a little bit of what you used to do, still push through, because at the end of the day, that time that you spend preparing is still going to pay off, even if you don't know what's going to happen next. So my thought is, the hungry eat, and that's what I got for you.
Okay. Well, we love you guys, and we're praying for you, praying for your families, praying for various different things that you have before the Lord. And I pray that you would see God in a way that you've never seen him before, and that you would come forth and you would emerge in this season. You would emerge, you would come forth and find another, tap into something else about your potential that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
I promise you, one word from the Lord can change your life. God can give you one idea, and one idea can totally change your life, and you can really serve people and help our world to be a better place, even in the midst of everything that's going on. Well, love you. Love is my inspiration. Love is my motivation for why I do what I do. You be blessed. Please join us. Go catch the other podcast. Share this. Share. Like, comment. I'll read all your comments and want to hear what you have to say. Thank you again, Erskine. Love you, Juan. Thank you,
man.
guys.
Y'all be blessed.
Yeah, blessings. It's good, bro.